Welcome to Access Tutorial 2013. You are watching overview of Microsoft Access 2013 objects. In this lesson, we are going to start out by giving you a general overview of what known as database object. Then we're going to down into some basic specific objects in Microsoft Access. There is tables, queries, forms, and reports. Then we are going to briefly touch on two others, that database objects, macros and modules, and then we'll cover some basic terminology that you will need before starting with 2013, before starting with Access 2013. Database object overview. In Access, an object refers to the individual components that comprise that will make up a database, and there are four basic objects. There are tables, queries, forms, and reports. And all four of these objects working together what make up a complete Access database. Now each of these objects have a very specific purpose or job within a database. Tables are essentially the heart of your database. Without at least one table, you don't have a database. So tables simply put or contain what we call records, and within that, records are divided into fields. And as a general rule, we never want to vary from that structure. For example, if you have 5 fields in a table, then every single record within that table should have 5 fields. And you never want to leave field blank or what we call null, because it may cause problem with data integrity in retrieval. So for example, here is what a standard customer table could look like. Just one of these rows is what we call a record. So every row what we call a record. An Access table can store thousands, even million of records. In fact, you could store up to 2 gigabytes of information minus the space needed for the system objects. As for field, one of these columns is one field, and in a table you technically can have up to 255 fields. However, it's not really recommended design-wise to have that many. If you have a ton of fields, chances are that you will not normalize your data, which will be to some basic problem. Now all of this is actually what your data would look like, and this is what a table design will look like. Kind of is where you go to control how Access store your data, how user can enter data. Initially, database users or developers will spend a ton of time designing and building tables for their database. However, once all the tables are built, it's really rare for someone to have to go back to the tables and to make changes. That is, unless you have a poorly designed database. So if you build or design your database, while the chances are to come back to the table is really rare. So for that reason, table is usually the first thing people forget about, even though they are the most important aspect of the database. Queries, on the other hand, are designed to retrieve information from your table. In other words, a query takes stuff out of your database for your record. But this is not all the query can do. Query can provide a way to question or analyze data by combining info from related table, by providing summaries, by performing calculation. Can also be used to manipulate or edit action required, such as the update query or delete query, or even you can even use it to create a pivot table or a pivot chart. All queries are the item which will be the end user using the most. This is the data sheet view of the query. If we skip over to design view, very different. In fact, from this view, we can see how information in the data sheet view is pulled from 2 separate tables. We got purchase order detail, we got product table. And if you look down below, We have got a purchase order detail with a streak over. The streak mean we are pulling all these fields from this table, and it is being displayed in the data sheet view. And next to that field there is an extended price, taking the information that's stored in the quantity field and multiplying that with the information. This is what a query does. It's pulling or selecting information from one or more tables while allowing you the ability to create things like calculated fields. Forms, like queries, also have multiple purposes, but they can also take on a variety of appearances. For example, here is a forms taken from Microsoft Northwind sample database. This included with the purchase. It's really in the Microsoft Access every production. As you can see, this form is used to both display and add new employee information. And this is what I call a simple single item access form, because only a single item record is displayed at a time. So this form is designed for basic data entry and viewing of store records. But here is another forms. There's a bit different design one. Instead of only display one record at a time, this one is displaying multiple records at a time, as well as a calculated field. We have a field that calculates total inventory, allocated inventory, available inventory, even a field that display a quantity reorder, and a button is added to purchase additional products. Here is a split form, a data sheet, a chart form, and few other fancier forms. And this one is the database login screen. So by and large, forms have many possibilities and unlimited potential. So to review, forms can be created for data entry, viewing stored information, searching the database for specific data or information, reporting and charting, and even database navigation. In fact, once a database is built, typically end user will spend most of their time interacting with forms. And that brings us to the report, which have one clear-cut purpose: they print information. Reports in general will take information that is stores and tables or information that gathers from a query, and those information are sent into the reports. So this is a report, this is also a report, and this too is a report. So in a short, tables, queries, forms, and reports working together can create a fairly usable and flexible tracking a reported system, and that is a complete database of Microsoft Access. Other object, there are technically other objects in Microsoft Access which is a bit more complex. Macros are a little mini programs, which is a sequence of action and commands stores for letter use. Basically, you can create a macro that can open, say, a particular form, or even email of a particular person of a report. Once built, you can then attach that macro to a button on a form or report, so user can simply click it to have all of those specific action performed without the user having to do anything but click a button. And in a sense, it's a big time saver. But the best part of the macro is people without any programming experience can create them. In fact, I like to think of macro as training wheels for a future programmer. And just to show you what a macro is look like from its design view, here it is. This is the design view. But you may not know what you are looking at. It is totally okay. This is slightly the more advanced topic for another day. Just when you click a button, Microsoft Access, chances are that there are a macro running in the bracket that performing action that the button press and the macro run. And that brings us to another database object called modules. Modules, like macros, are user-defined functions, subroutine, and global variables written in VBA code. These objects can be used called from anywhere of your database. And if you can find macro confusing, that you are really going to find this confusing. Here is the simple function. But no matter whether we are talking about macros or arrows, these objects are best left for your programming experiences. So in the other terminology, there are few other terms, but these terms are, I think, important before diving in the program itself. So to review, keys are, look at this, the primary key, a unique identifier, and a foreign key, which is a field added to the field for a sole purpose of creating a relationship, which brings us to our last important term, relationship. And that's what connecting data across multiple tables. And so key terms covered in this lesson include object, which is an access referred to the individual component that comprise a database, record, a single row of data in a table, field, a single column of data in a table, a container that holds or stores data, query, question or analyze data stored in one or more tables, forms, a graphical user interface for entering and viewing data or for all database navigation, reports, a printable view of data, macro, a collection of database action, module, a collection of user-defined functions, subroutines, and global variables written in a VBA code. Primary key, which is a table unique identifier, is like a social security number or driver license number. And last, foreign key, a table field used to relate data from one table to another. And that brings us to the end of the lesson. Here's what we covered. We covered the brief overview of database object overview. We talked about tables. We talked about queries. We talked about forms, reports, and briefly touched on the topic of macros and modules. And then we finish by covering some basic terminology which is required for Microsoft Access. That's the lesson, and I can't wait to see you in the next video. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you. Bye.